Our next speaker to wrap this session up is farm manager of an estate that's full of some big numbers. It's the largest ring-fenced lowland estate in the UK, over 9,000 hectares. It has more than 4,000 hectares of very sandy farmland, specialising in the production of potatoes, onions, carrots and parsnips. It's got a team of 40. It's got 130 miles of irrigation pipeline. The farm manager there is a pretty impressive character, Arable Innovator of the Year this year. He's also our strategic potato farm. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Francis.
Thanks very much, Tim. Hell of a build-up. So hopefully I won't let you down. So good morning, everybody. My aim this morning is just to give you a bit of a quick insight across the Elveden estate. Apologies, the picture's coming up a little bit dark on here, so they may be better on the TV screens. So we'll have a quick whiz around the estate, the kind of things we get up to, and then go into a bit more detail about our experiences of being the Potato Spot Farm East host. This is a map of the estate. As Tim's explained, it's all in a ring fence. This is the village of Elveden. This is the county boundary, so sort of Norfolk this side, Suffolk this side. This is the Centre Parks holiday village, and we also own 5,000 acres of forestry here to the north, which is on a long-term lease to the Forestry Commission. It's quite an interesting quirk. If you know the history of the estate, there is quite a lot of Indian heritage, and when I sort of drew the outline, it looks a little bit like a rampaging elephant, so I'm not sure if that's just purely coincidence, I'm sure. So, introduction to us. The estate's owned by the Guinness family and has been since 1894. The agricultural history really sort of started with the second Earl, who was the big agricultural innovator, and he built the business very much around a sort of prime milk and livestock business. The Breckland soils, they're naturally sort of depleted of nutrients. They have low water holding capacity, low organic matter percentage. So reintroduction of organic matter is very important for the sustainability of the soils. At its peak in the 1970s, the farm supported 2,000 dairy cows, 4 beef herds, 2 sheep flocks and 3 pig herds. In 1980, saw the withdrawal from milk production and move into further arable crops, with the farming economy pretty much being dependent on cereals and sugar beet at that time. The mid-1980s saw the development of the water resource on the estate and the introduction of field-scale vegetables. The late 1990s saw a transition from 3 farms, where the picture there we were sort of doing everything with 9 combines, down to a single farming business. We now do everything with 2. And in 1997, we invested further into sort of root crop storage, a big expansion into root vegetable production, which is pretty much how the estate is today. And in 2014, saw a move to some external farming opportunities as well. This is our sort of retail arm of the business. So we have a courtyard and retail area which was established in 2007. And this was built around the conversion of a 19th century workshop and enclosed courtyard area. It's developed and expanded to include the retail outlet as it is today. Courtyard restaurant is very popular during the daytimes and also hosts evening events throughout the year. And the Elveden Inn pub reopened in 2011 after a very large refurbishment. Forestry is probably the second sort of core business or the core department within the business. So this is the one that's been around sort of equal amount of time as the agriculture. The main thrust of this department really is twofold. So the first one is really the production and sale of Christmas trees. So obviously very busy at the moment. In the retail area, they'll sell between sort of 5,000 and 6,000 retail trees through the shop and the courtyard on an annual basis. And then they do around about 1,000 display trees, and a display tree is anything from 15 to 80 foot tall. They do that as a one-stop service, so if you want to pick a tree, it will be GPS marked. Come harvest, we'll cut it down, bud it up, put it on a lorry, take it to the town centre, supply the stand, put it in the stand, put the lights on, and then do everything in reverse, and then recycle the tree, chip it and put the chips back under either new trees or hedges. This was a little diversification that evolved from within the forestry department team. So one of the lads had an idea that actually, well, could we grow and supply a pre-grown hedge? So it developed the name the Instant Hedge. It effectively works on a 6 to 10 year harvest cycle with a whole load of species. We effectively pull ridges out with our veg ridger, put a membrane into the bottom of the ridge, put some compost in, plant the trees, trickle fertigation into them, and they're clipped twice a year and looked after to a sort of high agronomic standard to produce a product that you can effectively just lift out of the ground, transport and replant wherever you want the hedge. So onto the stuff that I look after. So this is the sort of farming arm of the business. So we cover, our farmland is almost 5,000 hectares. Most of that is on the estate, but there's a further sort of 1,200 that we farm off the estate under sort of various different farming arrangements. And that spreads us across sort of Suffolk, Norfolk, and also up into Lincolnshire as well. It gives you an idea of the spread of crops that we're growing, and as you'd expect, we're sort of selling to all the main sort of manufacturers and supermarkets in the UK. Our two big crops are potatoes and onions, so they really form the backbone of the farm business in terms of income. So we have specialist marketing departments for those two crops. Potatoes goes through the Garden of Elveden business under its own brand, and then onions go through the Elveden Produce Limited, where they're marketed onto to packers. So onto the spot farm. I was asked the question, how did it begin? How did we get involved? I think it was a result of a conversation sort of in the office around the table with Phil Burgess and Jenny Bashford back in 2015, where they were looking to expand the spot farm initiative that had started over in the west, bring one over to the east of England, and look for a completely different soil type for some different challenges. So we sort of had an expression of interest. We were interviewed along with a few other farming businesses in the area, and were lucky enough to be awarded host for 3 years. Once we got that, the sort of work really started. As you know, you get involved in these things. We had a really short time frame to get everything going in the first year, so it was a real big challenge. And obviously one of the first hurdles we had was to secure the funding. So this I found sort of really challenging. I do quite a few presentations, but actually this one was pretty hardcore. We had to effectively go up in front of the local enterprise partnership. We had 2 minutes to deliver a PowerPoint and a presentation and explain why we needed the money, what we could do with it, and how the benefits it would bring. So I think that was our first big challenge to overcome. But having secured that, it was then onto the practicalities of getting stuck in. So really sort of for this, visitors are absolutely key. Again, in year one, we weren't really sort of, I suppose we didn't really have the infrastructure, so being able to sort of beg and have those, or beg and borrow hardware from local friends and farmers enabled us to get up and running, to get people around the estate. We had a sort of quite broad spectrum of people coming in and seeing us through 2016. And then obviously that continued into 2017, where we sort of refined the job as we went. So this just gives you an idea of the visitor numbers that we had in year one. So the format is that it's sort of split into 4 pieces. There's 3 sort of open days and a major farm walk. And in 2017, we were able to sort of bring a few more people on board. I think we got slightly better at what we were doing in terms of how we publicised it, how we presented what we were doing, and took some ideas from 2016 as well. I think one really important thing for us was the support of all the sponsors as well. It's an important factor that we need all these other people to be on board, and when it came to the open day, having these guys around the farm adds another dimension for the visitors coming along. So these are an idea of some of the, or just a view of some of the trials that we've been doing over the last few years. So this was based around herbicides. In the potato industry, Linuron has formed the backbone of our residual herbicides. We've lost that, so the real challenge is how we move forward without Linuron. So that herbicide trial was looking at different combinations of new products, quite worryingly for our industry to get the same level of efficacy. We're looking at double or triple the cost to produce the same results. This one was around manipulation of tuber numbers, and this is sort of looking at chronological seed aging and physiological seed aging, and also ethylene treatments as well. So how could we sort of manipulate the number of tubers the daughter crop produces by treating the seed crop quite differently? Onto sort of nitrogen and irrigation, and this is a sort of big theme for us, certainly in our area for our spot farm. We sit in a water catchment that's over-abstracted, over-licensed. Water is absolutely key to root veg production in our catchment, certainly in East Anglia as well. Effectively, it's as simple as no water, no farming business. So we spend a lot of time on water and pollution issues, and what we've taken the opportunity to sort of investigate some of the methods that we put into our production system. Are they right? And to challenge them, take them to the extreme. So we're underwatering, overwatering, applying different rates of nitrogen in using different methods at different times of the year, so that we can actually come up with some hard metrics and some hard data to demonstrate that what we're doing, we're pretty much right. We think we're right, and actually we're not having any diffuse pollution problems as well. Another one on irrigation. So here we were looking at sort of common scab, which is a big problem from a skin quality point of view. So here we were looking at tolerance of varieties to different water regimes, different irrigation regimes. And also there's always something that you pick up, that you learn that you didn't expect to learn. This was from year one. We had a PCN resistance and tolerance trial. And in these areas where we had varieties in that were very intolerant to PCN, effectively they got attacked. Their root systems were under big attack from the PCN reproduction. But we have a lot of deer on the estate, and the deer were walking literally through 2 fields of potatoes to come to these. This is just literally like a 3-metre trial, a twin row, 3 metres, and the deer would walk through 2 potato fields to come specifically to these varieties. So we thought there was something a bit odd going on here. So sort of speaking to our forestry conservation manager, we sort of learned that the deer has a really intense sense of smell, so it's over 1,100 times more than a human being. And what we think they're doing is that they're actually smelling the increased production of sugar in stressed plants. So we're actually now trying to look to turn that around and think, well, actually, as part of our deer control, can we actually use crops that are very sort of rich in sugar or are stressed on other parts of the estate to actually just sort of pull the deer away from our production areas? That's a work in progress. This just gives you a bit of an idea of the complexity, and obviously any of those, all those of you involved in setting up trials and things will sort of fully appreciate this. So don't worry about the detail, but this was our irrigation and nitrogen trial. So each of these little squares is a different block. This was a drone picture here, picking up the NDVI of the different areas and the different treatments. You can see some real sort of big differences in there. This one was picking up, so same trial, picking up ground cover. So again, you can sort of see big differences from nitrogen treatments and irrigation treatments as well. And this one was our scab irrigation trial. This one's picking up ground covers of different varieties. So how's it worked for us? I think so far so good. We're sort of just finished 2 years of 3. I think it's enabled us and hopefully others to benefit from getting academia and technology out into the field, which I think is really important. I guess we're lucky in the potato sector having organisations such as NIAB and CUF that are very used to doing on-farm trials. So I think the landscape's changing rapidly in favour of us accessing fast learning. But we have to keep fueling that fire for the fire of thirst for knowledge of improvement. Has the itch been scratched? Not sure it ever will be fully, but I think we're making some really good advances. Several frustrations we've sort of had historically over subject areas and topics that were sort of massively important to us and our continued sustainability, that the speed of learning has been very slow. So I think through this process we're actually able to bring learning a lot quicker into our industry in a lot more practical basis as well. So fast learning, it's a phrase I like, and I think it's something that is really important to us because just too often some of the real key projects just get absorbed into sort of long-term trials. They're very academic focused, they're not based in the field. So actually as farmers, we want an answer tomorrow, so how do we get those answers, how do we bring it aboard? And then really as well also I suppose having with the AHDB structure, it's having that instant knowledge exchange network, which can then also open up other opportunities for communication as well. So something that we bolted on alongside of the spot farm this year was a runoff trial. So we managed to get together a consortium of sort of cross cross-industry interested parties to look at funding this particular trial. So this one was looking really at 2 different irrigation regimes with 2 different wheeling treatments to see how we could stop erosion down the wheelings. This is obviously what we're trying to avoid, so this was in one of our controlled areas, and this was in one of the treated areas. So we've had Cranfield and Nybe and Cuff. They've been taking lots of measurements. They've been using these water and silt traps, you can see down the bottom here. So there's whole loads of those in the wheelings. So they've gathered a lot of data, and we're hoping that in our winter results summary we'll bring that data forward and can really see the impact of wheeling treatments. This is some of the machinery that we used, and obviously in the background, whenever you do a runoff trial, it's really important to have a portaloo as well. So if this works okay, this just gives you a little idea if you've not seen the machines working. Just literally very simple. There are effectively undercutters on this machine, which is called the Wonder Wheel. The undercutters go under the bed to create a drainage slit, and then the soil is profiled by the wheels to create mini ridges to shed the water sideways and into the slits. This did this the other day, so apologies for this. This is us working on a side hill. But normally Norfolk and Suffolk are a bit flatter than that, but I don't know why it does it. But effectively, if you turn your head, you can actually see this machine is making like little mini dams up the wheelings. So apologies for that. So tips. I get, I'm not teaching grandma to suck eggs, but these are just a few of the things that we've found. For me, the value in the steering group, particularly in year 1, was of immense importance. We get involved in a lot of things, but this was a completely different step for us. I think having people around who've experienced these kinds of initiatives before took us a long way down and sort of took a lot of the clutter and a lot of the detail out of it for us. You get out of it what you put in, our policy is really to squeeze as much in as you can. We get one opportunity every 12 months to learn, so how much can we learn in that short period? So sometimes you've seen from the pictures we do perhaps overcomplicate it, but actually that's just a result of us trying to want to learn as much as we can. This is how I go to work every day. This is really, it's just there to say, well, take charge, and this doesn't mean, putting the blinkers on and charging down a particular route, but it's actually investing the time. If you as a host and you as visitors invest the time into the initiative, you'll get more out of it, but it does rely on input from everybody. And then get others involved and share the knowledge. How can we bring people along? What other communication routes can we use to publicise what we're doing, to bring people along? It's really important, I think, that with our Spot Farm initiative, we're not just getting farmers and growers along, but we're also getting cross-sector involvement as well. So we have Cambridge Water, Anglia Water, catchment advisors. They all come along to the trials, to the open days, and that's really important for us to be able to bring that message in, that actually we're doing the best we can, but often it's the demonstration of the barriers to further knowledge that is really important for progress. And of course, through those, it's any format that we can. So again, we'll take all kinds of visitors around the trial. So not just the sort of 4 formal days, but also the informal days as well. We'll use elements of our learnings in various presentations as well. So really, it's all about trying to get as broad a coverage of what we're doing outside of the Spot Farm as well, to bring maximum payback on what we're doing. Some of that will be sort of through public media, some through social media, some through local schools and visitors to the estate, and some other initiatives that we're involved, particularly with our Leaf Demonstration Farm initiative and also the McDonald's flagship farm. And this one I was sort of interested in yesterday. I haven't got a list of 5 bullet points, but if I did, this one would actually be number 1. This is the most important asset to our business. It is all about the guys on the ground that put your thoughts into actions. So it's really important that we take these guys around our trials, we show them what we're trying to achieve, and we bring the learning to them as well as our external visitors as well. Thanks very much.